It's The List and your boy with Jimmy Van and Sean Ross Sapp.
And we are live.
What's up, you guys? Listen, your boy, number 94. Jimmy Van is back.
Yeah, man.
People said, no, listen, your boy this week, last week. And I said, no, no. It's sacrilege. I can't do that. We don't do listen, your boy without Sean or Jimmy Van. Well, without Jimmy Van at least, because I get the feeling that if I get hit by a train tomorrow, listen, your boy 95 is taking place next Wednesday.
I'd figure it out. Maybe I'd fly Melissa to Kentucky just to sit in that chair.
Yeah.
In order to keep the look
would.
up, in order to keep the look going.
Not me, it would be Sean Ross
Well,
Sapp,
she's going to be, she says she's going to be in my country, which is rather a large country this week. Where are you going, Melissa?
That's very true.
North Carolina again.
Yeah, that's near my hood a little bit, kind of.
So, Sean, what did you think of the new merch?
Are you talking about the mask in the back?
No, I'm talking about the new merch.
The new, what, your Nautica sweatshirt?
You're telling me that Melissa didn't let the managing editor know about the new merch?
I don't know
I
anything.
think he probably forgot.
Oh, is
Good
that what
job,
happened? You
Sean.
probably forgot?
Yeah, good job, Sean.
I wanted something nice that I might actually wear. And we were able to come up with something really nice, man.
Yeah, you all didn't tell me shit.
Nice polo tees. Look at
What?
that.
I don't have one of these.
No?
I do.
I wasn't told about this.
You weren't told about it?
I can't believe you forgot, Sean.
For God's ass. We talked to each other, and in that week or so that Jimmy Van was gone, that Skype chat was dry as a bone.
Oh, yeah?
Lovely.
Look at that lovely polo tee, man. It's a dry fit polo tee, Sean.
My God, the
Look
first
at that.
thing you asked when we got Fightful shirts is, do they have dry fit? And I said, not.
Because that's what I like. That's what I like. It's comfortable and breathable, and that's what I like.
Yeah, because it's so moist and damp in Canada.
You should feel our office right about now.
Really?
It absolutely is. Melissa
even-
will vouch for it.
No, we even needed it. They had the AC on up until last week.
I heard it was
wild
hot
in here.
yesterday.
Oh, yesterday it was hot.
That's what I was told.
I don't have a list in your boy. What is this? Where can people get them? Can they get them?
So I had them produced for contest prizes.
Oh, okay.
And I had
so I
them
got to win a contest.
You have to win a contest. Yeah. And I got them produced because I wanted one. And I thought they turned out good. This is embroidered, Sean. This is not like some sticker. This is like
I
actually...
know. I can tell it's embroidered.
Yeah.
Hey, embroidery's the way to go.
It looks good. Yeah,
I always
Melissa
thought we
did a
should
good
have
job.
had, I don't know if you ever saw the WWN style jackets that they had. Matt used to wear them around everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
That had the thing down the side and the embroidered logo. I thought those looked good, and I thought Fightful would look good on one of those, but never got around to it. But
Well, there you
hey,
go.
we got lots of mugs still, too.
We have a box of these in the office, Sean.
Really?
None for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
None for me. None for me.
No, maybe if you're really nice, maybe I'll send your wife one.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure she'll wear dry fit polos with "Listen Your Boy" around all over the place.
I think she will.
Maybe.
Good chance.
I don't know.
You know what today is, Sean?
It is October 17th. Listen Your Boy, number 94.
I think I know.
You know what else today is?
I think I know.
It is Wednesday.
Yeah. Do you know what else today is?
Yesterday was Boss Day. Happy Boss Day.
Really?
Yeah, something like that.
I never got an email or a salutation about that.
Well, you just did now. Not from Melissa because she's a terrible employee, but
Excuse you.
Effective today, Sean, marijuana is legal in the country of Canada.
Yep.
that explains why you got a box full of Listen Your Boy polos.
Does it? Yeah. Yeah. Effective today. And you've only been asking about that for like, what, the last 8 months?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say something.
Were you starting early? Were you
I didn't want
starting
to throw
early?
anybody under the bus. I've not smoked marijuana in several months, actually.
Oh, it's several months. Okay. Well, that's today.
I mean, I've not made it a secret. I did it to help get to sleep. I've got some insomnia, but it's
Did it help?
haven't eaten it. Oh yeah, big time.
That's nice. So the other thing that happened, so like I was a little bit, off the land there for like a week. Wasn't following a whole lot of stuff. And somehow, some way, Sean, while I'm gone and I'm like checking in on things a little bit, suddenly you're buddies with The Rock on Twitter?
Yeah.
How was that about?
I leave The Rock on red on Twitter. No big deal. Don't even bother replying to him.
Right. Even though you replied like every time.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did. You guys went back and forth a few times.
Well, until I just stopped replying to him. It's like so annoying, you know.
So clingy.
He's trying to get me to be in Skyscraper 2, and I was
Yes.
like, listen.
Yes,
I know
yes.
you only made $300 million, and you're trying to get that up to $400 million, but let's just get a little too serious here. I have a day job that I have to do.
He needs a tackle dummy to throw out of a window. Thought you were the perfect candidate for the job.
Yeah, I probably would. I probably would be a pretty good candidate.
So how do you think things went with your Wednesday podcast without me? You had like a belt guy on, and you had like Melissa did a run-in, and how'd all that go?
Well, I didn't plan on that. Melissa and I are going to fight at List and Your Boy 100, and I mean, I don't even really want to do it anymore, but I've talked so much. Shut up!
I'm pretty sure that's why.
Shut up! But I've talked so much trash at this point, I can't back out. I've already promoted it, and I can't promote something that isn't going to happen. So there will be explosions. There will be a fight. It will be the biggest show ever. It's going to happen. But
So
I liked it.
You know how our job is to critique wrestling, right? And we like critique matches and promos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was on the fence. Should I critique your performance when Melissa did the run-in on the podcast last week? I was like, should I critique it? And I was on the fence if I should mention it or not, but I'm going to mention it. So anybody that didn't see it, do you know where I'm going already? So
I'm sure.
So anybody that didn't see it, so Sean's audio gets muted, right?
Whoa, sir! What are you? What is this?
I'm gonna explain. Sean's audio gets muted, so Melissa can do the run-in. So Sean can only mouth words because you can't hear him, right? Meanwhile, even though his audio is muted and he can only mouth words, you hear like his knees banging on his desk and shit.
No, I was legit muted.
No, you were not.
Yeah, I was.
I could hear stuff going on your set.
It might have been my audio, Jimmy.
Have you heard it on Melissa's end then? I was legit muted.
Really?
So that's what we in the business, like me and Melissa, call selling you a fucking ticket, James. We sold you a ticket.
Yeah,
You'll be there at Listen Your Boy 100.
I'll be at the front of the line.
You'll watch the fight of the century.
I'll be at the front of the
Melissa
line.
versus SRS.
Who are you
got all
sending to cover the fight, John?
When is that going to air during the show? Like, do you want that to be the main event?
No, it'll probably air in the middle of the show.
In the middle of the show.
We'll probably be media heavy that day.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we got some cool stuff coming. Got some people that are trying to ghost me for this show as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We'll see how that works.
One more thing before we get started here. I'm not going to turn this into an MMA podcast, but Fedor Chael Sonnen, to me, felt set up. Was that set up?
Come on, get out of here.
Okay,
Don't
and
be
I
ridiculous.
never say this about MMA fights ever, and whenever trolls say it, I'm always like, oh, shut up. kind of
Sonnen
thing.
got dropped 3 seconds in, Jimmy.
It didn't look good, man.
He got the snot knocked out of him 3 seconds in. What happened was Chael Sonnen went for a very low percentage roll out of a back take, essentially. Really something you should only be doing.
Well, that happened later, right? That
Yes.
happened later when that happened. Yeah.
So him getting the snot knocked out of him 3 seconds in, I'm sorry. Chael Sonnen isn't working a fight like that. He doesn't need to work a fight like that. We're talking about maybe the 10th, 8th, 9th best middleweight of all time facing one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, and they're at the same point in their career. Really? It was not set up.
I've never seen Chael Sonnen so happy in defeat. I've never seen him so happy.
He gets a flat fee. That's why.
He actually promoted the next fight. He's like, oh, Fedor and Ryan Bader, that's going to be a great fight.
Well, he's getting a second check, too. He's getting a check to be a broadcaster.
I guess. I wasn't impressed, Sean. So while I was gone, I was still keeping tabs on the news and stuff, And I heard about the whole thing with Jamal Khashoggi. I heard about all that. And I thought, oh, this could be bad for wrestling, potentially. Mm-hmm. Let's see where this goes. Oh, man, has this ever gone sideways for WWE? So we got to talk about the Saudi Arabia thing, Sean. And I want to start off by saying, back when the Greatest Royal Rumble happened in April, and you and I talked a lot about that show and about, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is giving them a bunch of money, and they're controversial and human rights violations, and WWE can't send any female performers and all of that. And at that show, I said to you, you know what? I would still do it if I was WWE because you have shareholders to answer to. And
Sure.
if you can collect, because we still don't know how much they're getting per show, anywhere from 20 to 40 million a show. If you can get that for a show, then you damn well do it. And that was kind of my mentality at the time, right? That was then, and this is now, Sean. And they are in a situation, and I'm sure most people have heard about it, and so I'm not going to go into every single detail. All I'm going to say is that there's a Saudi journalist based in the U.S. His name is Jamal Khashoggi. Well, they haven't found a body yet, but he works for the Washington Post, or worked for the Washington Post, and he was allegedly murdered at the Saudi consulate in Turkey. And the allegation is that the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, ordered the murder. And the Turkish government claims that they have audio and video. I think they have the guy's Apple Watch, they claim, and so they claim that they can prove it. There are so many layers to this, Sean. Now, the first thing is, this Mohammed bin Salman guy, buddy of mine told me at lunch that he likes to call himself MBS. Is that true? He likes to call himself MBS?
That's true.
So fucking... Anyway, so MBS, Sean, is the same guy that was in the propaganda video that WWE aired twice during the Greatest Royal Rumble, talking about how progressive he is and women can drive now. And
Which was profiled on HBO's Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
They showed that video?
They showed the propaganda video and some of Michael Cole's commentary, yeah.
Okay, because so I was going to talk about that. So of the many things that are now coming down and trickling down against WWE, because a lot has been happening ever since this news broke about this alleged murder. So first, there's a major investment conference scheduled to take place next week called Davos in the Desert, or Davos in the Desert. I don't know how you pronounce it. But it's a major investment conference with major corporations, and a lot of them have now pulled out. A lot of the attendees have pulled out on the heels of this news. And so because they're all taking a step back now, and because Crown Jewel is taking place in 2 weeks, WWE is kind of in the media's crosshairs now. And a lot of stuff is happening on a daily basis. So several U.S. senators have come forward publicly saying that WWE needs to rethink their relationship with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Lindsey Graham, who's the Republican senator for South Carolina, she said that WWE should pause. Sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. He says, I'm Canadian, I can get away with it. But he says that they should pause their business dealings, and his parents should rethink their name of him. But he said they should pause their business dealings. So that's another one. Then you just mentioned John Oliver, and I caught the clip where he aired Cena's promo. You know, John Cena's not going to like that, Sean.
No, he's not at all.
No. So John Oliver actually aired John Cena's promo from Greatest Royal Rumble when Cena put over the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in his promo after his match. And Oliver aired that and kind of took a shot. Because Cena is kind of like the public poster boy of WWE now, right?
He is. Even though he rarely wrestles, he is still the face.
Yes. And so that happened. And then on top of all of that, there's so many layers to this, man.
There's a million layers.
Then you got Glenn Jacobs.
Social.
Yeah, then you got Glenn Jacobs. He is currently the sitting mayor for the Republican Party in Knox County, Tennessee. And he's going to wrestle on Crown Jewel. There's another layer. Then on top of that, you got Donald Trump, right? Yeah. And there's a bunch of stuff. And Melissa's already giggling. So there's a couple things with Donald Trump. So the first thing is Linda McMahon, who is currently in as a part of Donald Trump's administration, because she's the head of the small business unit.
Administration.
Right? So she's sitting in his administration. The McMahon family was one of the biggest campaign contributors to Donald Trump's campaign. And of course, the McMahon family is the ones getting paid by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So there's that whole layer to it. And then on top of all of that, there's been a thing going on right now where Trump, he's just announced sanctions on Iran. And the sanctions that he's announced on Iran could mean that Saudi Arabia actually makes more money from exports of oil.
Yeah.
On top of everything else.
Usually in a situation like this, like around the Greatest Royal Rumble, you had some people who were just like, oh, who cares, blah, blah, blah. And you had some people on the political side of things that, you know, are very, well, they're
You can
unusual.
just say it, Sean. Just say it.
I mean, quite frankly, they're dickheads.
There you go.
They're fucking
now
dickheads.
Sean Ross Sapp is coming out, Melissa.
So you had that, oh, who cares if women can perform or not?
Awesome. You got the southern accent back.
Yeah,
It's
we
awesome.
got that. We got that rocking. This time, and it was a good, probably 60-40 towards people criticizing Greatest Royal Rumble. This time around, and you know, Jimmy, I see the best and the worst of it. I'm talking 98% people are like, why are we doing this? Why
Yep.
is this happening?
Yep.
And we've got a situation where Donald Trump, whatever you think about him as a president or as a person, he essentially put a price tag on this man's life. He said, we've got a $110 billion deal that could go elsewhere, and we don't want that to happen, so let's not rush to judgment. Said, we don't like it, but there's a price tag that's put on it. To me, given all that you just mentioned, I think that gives WWE a green light. That gives WWE a green light.
To pull out.
No. To put a price tag on their involvement in this situation. And man, is it rough. It is too good to be true money. It really is. And I had some dope last week saying, oh, they can just move it to the Eastern U.S. and run the show. And I'm like, no.
Whoa. What?
Oh, yeah. I had a guy that.
Does he
I will have to send you these tweets. I will have to send you. They were so unbelievable. I had to mention them.
Does he understand who's paying the tab? Does he understand?
His reasoning was any billionaire that they could talk into doing it as a gesture of goodwill because they're moving. And I've said, no, they can't. Not for that amount.
No.
This amount of money drew Shawn Michaels out of retirement.
Yes.
Keep in mind, people are like, oh, yeah, well, that of course it did. Well, of course it did. AJ Styles actively pushed for them to do it.
Yeah.
Said it to Shawn Michaels' face. On
Daniel
WWE
Bryan, too.
production.
Daniel Bryan, too. Yeah.
Even AJ Styles went to Vince and said, money talks, right? Well, it didn't for WrestleMania, but it did to get Shawn Michaels to come out of retirement with a bald-ass head and take a 15-hour flight to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. So let's talk about what we know. So what we know right now is that after the Greatest Royal Rumble, so WWE reports this Saudi show under other. The media other is what they call it on their financials. And they have not publicly said how much they're getting. So after the April show, they were given, or they reported an extra around $45 million. And what we don't know is that $45 million for the two shows this year, or is it only for the Greatest Royal Rumble? It's not until they report this quarter, which I believe is going to be February of next year, that we're going to see, did the media other column go up again?
Yeah.
And if that column goes up again, that means they got $45 million per show. Now, to put it into perspective, WrestleMania, they gross 17, on a good year, $18 million. To put it into perspective. So if they're able to get even $20 million for Saudi Arabia, let alone $40 million or $45 million for Saudi Arabia, of course you have to do it. Now, Chris Jericho was on Inside the Ropes. And Chris Jericho told a great story that I got to tell, and you might have seen the interview. Jericho said that back before the Greatest Royal Rumble, Vince McMahon called him. And Vince McMahon said, I want you to do the Saudi Arabia show. And Jericho said, I'm not interested. It's too long of a flight, and I'm not interested. The way Jericho put it is he said, typically the wrestler gets paid this much, right? And that means that WWE gets paid this much. I'm trying to get it on camera. It gets paid this much,
that's
right? Jericho said, for the Greatest Royal Rumble, I was offered this much.
Yeah.
And if I was offered this much, how much is WWE getting for that show?
The old CM Punk thing where he was talking about, oh, people come up to me and say, yeah, you made this much, you're not thankful for it. And he goes, cool, I should have made about 10 times that because they make about 20 times that.
Well, Jericho himself said in that interview on Inside the Ropes, he said, I don't do this for money, but he said, I'm not an idiot. And if they want to pay me that sum of money for one show, I'm going to do it. Look at Brock Lesnar, man. Brock Lesnar, we used to joke about, he wouldn't even want to fly to LA to do a show because he likes staying at home in his compound in Saskatchewan. The guy's going to go to Saudi Arabia for the second time in the same year. You think he's not getting paid for that?
Here's an interesting thing. I've had wrestlers, which I've mentioned to you, that aren't even on the show that have contacted me and said, do you know the amount that they're making? Because our contracts are up next year. We need to know, like, is this something that we take to them? Of course, they get that single payoff, but they want to know if their money should be up in general. So what I think is very interesting is how the first go around, it was all hands on deck. Even the Australia show, it was not all hands on deck. There were a ton of people they didn't bring over. Vince didn't go over. Mm-hmm. And they're not getting anywhere near Saudi Arabia money for Australia. How many people are on this Crown Jewel show? It 20, might be like 16, 17
yeah, I was gonna say
people.
20 or less, yeah.
So I wonder if WWE looked at that and said, how can we do this and keep as much of this as possible.
In case this comes to an end, basically.
Possibly in case it comes to an end. Sure,
Yeah.
I'm not sure in that regard, but they were giving, good God, 50 at least 50 people were in the Greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
So they were probably giving 70 people paydays off of that. This go around, they're giving maybe 20 people because 8 people are in that tournament, and essentially you got the same people working several times maybe.
Yeah, and another thing that happened, and I actually got a couple tweets about this. They changed the venue. They changed it from what was it, like a 50 or 60,000 seat venue to like a 25,000 seat venue.
Yeah, it was a construction situation.
Okay, well, I got a few messages saying, "Oh, that means tickets must not be selling well," and my response is, WWE is getting a guarantee.
They're geting a guarantee,
It
and
doesn't matter.
tickets weren't even on sale yet.
Right. So that has nothing to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple more things about this that we want to talk about. So, Sports Illustrated reported that several members of the talent roster anonymously, because that's convenient, anonymously told them that they're not too comfortable doing the show, given everything that's going on, given what happened to Mr. Khashoggi, and given just the controversies with the King of Saudi Arabia. A lot of them don't want to go. So when you know, Mr. JBL, who is basically the poster boy of kissing ass, went on Fox Business and basically put over, WWE needs to go to promote change. And that's
the biggest crock of shit
and that's
I've
the
ever
same
heard in my
shit.
life.
That's the same thing that they said in April. They said they need to go to promote change. Then Randy Orton, who's not quite the ass kisser that JBL is, but he's still, I'd say, pretty high up on the company, shill level. Randy Orton told TMZ the same thing. He said WWE needs to go to promote change. So there you have 2 guys so far that have publicly come out and said that they need to do it. My opinion on it is this, and if WWE does it, I'm not going to shit all over them because I understand, again, if you're getting 20 to 40 million for one show and you have shareholders to appease, I can kind of understand. But at the same time, now that they're getting this much heat, and now that they just signed these new TV contracts with USA and with Fox, my opinion, if I'm the CEO of WWE, I would pass on this show, just to kind of keep the positive PR going, because that doesn't mean that come next spring, things wouldn't have settled down enough, right? That you can go back and do it again. Now, who knows, maybe if they were to pass on this show, maybe the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia would say fuck off, and maybe they'd lose the rest of the deal. If it was me, if I was the decision maker, I would take that chance, because I think that they're getting a lot of heat, because now that the corporations that were getting heat because, you're going to attend this investment conference, and a lot of them have publicly backed off. WWE is the next thing in the crosshairs now in terms of the media, right?
And so much of what they have done over the last several decades has flown under the radar.
Yes.
As a result, because the perception that we often talk about that led to them getting low ad rates also leads to them going under the radar on several other things because of the demographic that it is perceived that they appeal to. Well, you and I know that isn't always the truth. It appeals to a wide demographic, and that's what advertisers are starting to understand too, and networks are starting to understand as well.
Right.
I think Alex brought up a great point on either the post Raw or SmackDown show. Just be like, hey guys, we'll owe you one, but let's not do this. JBL's horse shit that came out of his mouth. I wish he didn't have me blocked so I could get blocked again. WWE going over there to run the World Cup tournament's going to keep Saudi Arabia from sawing up journalists. Yeah, bro. Good fucking call. You oaf. You doofus.
There are certain guys on the payroll that are always going to be on the payroll for as long as they want to be, because they are the ultimate company shill. And JBL is one of those guys. Michael Cole is one of those guys. Michael Cole was a war correspondent.
Neither of those men are that stupid. They are both incredibly intelligent dudes.
Oh, they are, but they know where their bread is buttered.
Dudes.
They know where their bread is buttered, and they're gonna die on that sword. Michael Cole, the former war correspondent, he'll be the first one on the plane, Sean.
Yeah, as long as people don't find out that $40 million came from me to get scoops all throughout this summer. So.
I would definitely question your salary demands if that was the situation, Sean.
Yeah. For love of the game, that's what we do.
But I'm going to be very curious come February or March when they release these financials, because I want to know, did you get $40 million per? Because again, $20 million per is a shitload of money.
It'd be January, right? Is that when they do?
I had heard February is when it's going to come out. But if they get $40 million a show, I can understand, even given the heat and even given the media, that they'd want to do it because that is a shitload of money for one wrestling show. But again, they're getting a lot more into those TV rights deals, and I don't know if you necessarily want to put that kind of heat on your corporate partners in that respect.
Yeah, and as we've seen, I thought that Fightful contributor Chris Harrington posted a very, very. It was. I think it was meant to be a little bit funny, but it was realistic. It was the hierarchy of WWE influence. Vince at the top, big money partners like TV, advertisers, sponsors, then executives, then negative mainstream media attention, then talent, and he said stratified by experience, and then at the very bottom, fans and feedback.
I would almost put the talent below the fans, Sean.
Yeah, I would too.
I would. Maybe with the exception of like one or two guys.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, it's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens. But man, the heat that they've been getting over this whole thing. I mean, again, before this thing came out about Jamal Khashoggi, they were already getting heat, but now it's pretty nuclear now. So if I was them, I would definitely take a step back. Oh, and the other thing that we should mention. So I think it's been now for about the last week or so. WWE isn't actually mentioning Saudi Arabia when they talk about Crown Jewel, which is so silly. If you go to WWE.com, and I actually went this morning, I went to WWE.com and I went to the Crown Jewel page, and there is zero mention of Saudi Arabia on that page. Really? But again, fans are not stupid, and if you saw Smackdown this week, they were in Philadelphia, which is a hot crowd. I couldn't help but chuckle when The Undertaker comes out for a promo, one of the most popular guys of all time. Yeah, I know. But he's one of the most popular guys of all time. The crowd is cheering like mad when he gets out there. As soon as he grabs the microphone and says, "At Crown Jewel," his first words, "At Crown Jewel," the whole crowd in Philly, boo!
Yep.
Because they're not dumb. They know what's going on. And WWE is aware of it to the extent that they've removed the word Saudi Arabia from their website, and they did not mention Saudi Arabia on television either. So
yeah, they are still very much keeping their options open.
No, they're going to do it. They're going to do it.
No, about where the show takes place. They do have backup plans in place.
Are you talking about when Brandon wrote about England?
There are a lot of different places that are possibilities, but England could be one.
Because the problem is they're not going to get that money if they don't do it in Saudi Arabia.
Of course, but I mean they've advertised the show and promoted it heavily.
I got what you're saying. All right.
Yeah. Well, I know one show that is taking place. That's NWA 70th anniversary this Sunday. Doing live coverage of that. I'm going to have a live post-show podcast. But I interviewed NWA Women's Champion Jazz, who also competed in WWE. And Jimmy, she gave me the great headline, "I'm nothing to fuck with." Take a listen. I am here with NWA World Women's Champion Jazz. Jazz, you have a big match coming up at NWA 70th anniversary against Penelope Ford. How are you preparing for this? You just told me actually you were headed to the gym.
Yeah, basically I've been preparing myself. I'm taking this as like I'm supposed to take it. It's a title match, and I'm the champion, so I'm preparing myself to go in as a champion and come out as a champion. So basically, I'm just in the gym, building up for endurance and stamina, and I hope Penelope is doing the same. I'm a vet, so I've always was taught to be 2 to 3 steps ahead of my opponent. So that's where I am right now. While she's probably sleeping and taking pictures on Instagram, I'm in here killing it. So, I'm an athlete and I'm a winner. I'm a champion. That's what I do.
So you won this championship over 2 years ago, and since then there's been an overturn in NWA, and now it's Billy Corgan and Dave Lagana at the helm.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think the NWA before they were just passing belts along to whoever they thought was pretty or cute at the time. I'm trying to make this NWA belt mean exactly what the NWA meant 20, 30 years ago, from back in the 80s, let it represent, NWA, just like Dusty Rhodes and the Ric Flairs and That's what I'm trying to do. This is just not something I'm putting around my way to say, oh, I'm a champion. Oh, I got a belt. No, this means more to me than just that. This is my legacy, and it's the NWA. I'm making history. I'm the first African-American woman to ever hold this title in the history of the NWA. So I'm really taking this very, very seriously and to heart. So I'm hoping Penelope is really preparing herself, because I'm really taking this. This is deep for me.
Yeah, one of the lines that you had in a recent interview, honestly, it's probably my favorite headline of the year. It was just you saying, "I'm not going out like a bitch." And
exactly.
And you seem pretty determined.
Yeah, and that's how I am. A lot of most people really don't know me, but the ones that have been around, I mean, the girls that I work with in WWE and some of the girls on the independent level, some of them, they know my work ethic. It's like I'm the first one in the building to get in the ring and stretch out and warm up. I get to a show, I go to the ring, I check the ring, I check the ropes out. I don't walk around in there trying to be, the prettiest girl in the back, or walking around for everybody look at my ass and look at my tits and all that. I'm there for business. And October the 21st, I will guarantee you will see with your own eyes that there is nothing to fuck with. I'm not to play with, and I'm coming there strictly for business.
I screwed
Melissa,
up. I'm going to say it before Sean says it. I screwed up. Sorry.
I said to Melissa while that was airing, I said, have you been eating some of those mushrooms that you've been harvesting? Because how did you confuse a short black lady for a tall white woman? How did that ever happen? So for our audio-only listeners, there was a graphic for like a minute that aired of China during Jazz's interview. How did that...
With wrestlers that I don't know, I'll always reverse search images just to make sure.
Okay.
And she came up a bunch.
Short black lady, tall white woman. How were they even the same person?
Little inside baseball for you guys. Part of my job is deciding what clips go up on this show. And I send Nigel or Melissa, don't interrupt me, Melissa, Nigel or Melissa, the time cues for these. Well, I sent it to Nigel this week. He passed it on to Melissa. And they decide the photos that air.
Correct.
I don't see the photos until you guys see the photos.
Exactly.
So when I see China up there, and I did the interview, I don't have to listen to the interview. I edited the interview. I upload the interview. I don't have to listen to it again. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, did we talk about China in this interview? And then I'm thinking, Jazz wasn't in the company at the same time. I don't even think they met.
Maybe you should start making these clips.
They're almost polar opposites in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like China was the Playboy model and got into porn.
Men.
And I mean, fine. They both wrestled men, but otherwise, I don't know how that happened. I was telling Melissa, please don't make me have to review these before they go up.
Yeah.
I just got to make sure that, if she's ever interviewing, let's say if Sean interviews Hulk Hogan, I don't want to see Bad News Brown come up on the graphic or something. So we might have to take a look at him. So since we're talking about NWA 70, we might as well talk about that now. So it's this Sunday, October 21st from Nashville. It's airing on the Fight TV app. You going to watch it, Sean? Are you doing a post show?
I'm covering it. I'm going to cover it. I'm going to do the live coverage. We're going to do it like we did, I think it was the Ring of Honor show, where I do live coverage, but it'll be my match ratings, podcast notes, and then right after I'm doing a live post-show podcast.
Are you doing it by yourself?
As of right now, yes, but if I can find a second, I would love to have a second on there. Okay,
it's on a Sunday. Jeff, why don't you go ahead and because he's the old school guy, right?
I mean, maybe. I mean, Jeff, you got to remember, Jeff does, I think he might be available. I'll find out.
Yeah, I hit him up. He likes the old school stuff, so it's going to be...
The old school stuff.
Well, he does. He knows all the 80s stuff. He knows.
There's not a lot of old school guys on this show.
But are there going to be surprises we're not aware of since it's the NWA anniversary show?
Well, it depends. I heard Ellsworth was planned for the show, and he was actually supposed to face Janela, which is ironic because I heard Janela was supposed to appear at Bound for Glory, and Ellsworth ended up taking his place. But
is that right?
They've got Road Warrior Animal with Crimson and Jax Dane against an open challenge. There's Laredo Kid and Barrett Brown. You've got the national title tournament with Cabana, Guevara, Scorpio Sky, Sam Shaw, Pero, Bradley, Starks, Willie Mack, who had a great performance last week. Jazz is about as old school as it gets on this show. Jazz and Penelope Ford.
So, well, Jeff Jarrett's going to be there because this is somehow he's again finagled his way into a co-promotion. I don't know how he's able to get this shit done all the time because he has nothing to do with anything. But Jeff Jarrett's Global Force Wrestling is co-promoting this, so you know he's going to be there, and it wouldn't surprise me if they're going to set up Cody and Jeff in an NWA title match. It sounds to me like that's probably where they're going to be headed. So he'll be around, and then Cody and Nick Aldis, that'll be interesting. Jazz, we were talking off air. The NWA has done a better job with Jazz in one video that they put up than WWE did the whole time they had her, because she's pretty damn funny when they give her the chance to just talk and be herself.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I was saying off air, she was a little nervous. She was like, I've never done a press tour like this, and bam, as soon as it is. I mean, like I said, I told you, my favorite headline before the one that I wrote was her saying, I'm not going out like a bitch. And that's her, man. She's real.
I love it. I love it.
Rodney Mack, but she didn't hesitate to say, before this title came along, I was a housewife. I was working. I was a mother.
Yeah.
I was out of wrestling, wasn't that interested in coming back. But
yeah. And she's a sheriff. She's a tough lady, man.
She is a tough lady.
So good for her. And her promo, she's funny. They got to do something with her. I want to talk about Don Leo Jonathan. Some of our listeners might not be familiar with him. He was before my time as a wrestling fan, but I know who he is because he was a legend, especially in Canada. I've seen a lot of his match footage from the 70s especially and into the early 80s. So he passed away this week at the age of 87. A lot of people don't know that he's actually American-born, because he was known as a Canadian wrestling legend and the former NWA Canadian champion. He was one of Andre the Giant's greatest opponents ever because he was 6'6", at a time when there weren't a lot of guys that were 6'6". And you know that Andre was billed at 7'4", but he wasn't really 7'4". So when he was in the ring with Don Leo Jonathan, they were actually pretty similar in height. And he was also very agile. The guy could do a nip-up, which especially for that time, Sean, nobody was doing that, not even the smaller guys. He could do a somersault from the apron over the top rope, flip and land on his feet. So he was a very agile guy. He was in the U.S. Navy. He was a sailor in the U.S. Navy. He moved to Canada in the 60s, and he lived here ever since because he had a lot of good runs in Toronto and in British Columbia. So
Vancouver, big time.
So I wanted to mention him because he was a legend, a Canadian wrestling legend. And it's kind of funny, these guys that are American and then they work up here and then they fall in love with the country, because Angelo Mosca was the same thing.
Yeah.
Angelo Mosca was an American that got into working for the Tunnies and working for Canadian promoters and fell in love with the country and ended up moving here. Same kind of thing. So, and maybe Sean Ross Sapp one day, Sean.
Yeah. I mean, already there. I speak fondly of my time in Canada, but I mean, he made his living in Canada and in Japan heavily too. I know he was big into wrestling in All Japan. I think he wrestled. I know he did some stuff with WWF back in the day as well. So he worked in New York an awful lot as well. But I'm glad that he's getting the attention. Like, gosh, I think it's been 40 years since he wrestled. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that he's getting the attention because I thought this was going to go completely uncovered and under the radar. So I was very happy to see that.
Well, he's one of the greatest big men of all time. Like I put him in the conversation with Bruiser Brody or Killer Kowalski or Andre the Giant in terms of some of the greatest big men. Big Show I'd put in that conversation too. Some of the greatest big men of all time.
And he has one of those career trajectories that I think is kind of cool, where he wrestled, I think his first match in 49 and his last in 80. So he wrestled in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
That's amazing.
And I think if Goldust wrestles in 2020, he'll be near there too. 80s, 90s, 2000s, 10s, and 20s.
And Goldust might get there, man.
He might. He says he's near the end of his career, but I hope he gets there.
He's only got to do one match.
Exactly. It's all that matters.
So SmackDown 1000.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I was stoked to see Batista come back, right?
Me too.
I wanted to see what he was going to do. And I couldn't help but smile when I watched that promo, because it was clear that Batista was given a mic and given no script and basically given carte blanche to do whatever the hell you want. And Batista spent, what was it, Sean, 10 minutes strolling around back and forth, holding the rope, just kind of shooting the shit. I think saying whatever came to his mind. Meanwhile, you got Randy Orton, you got Triple H, who's going to be the boss of the whole thing, and you got Ric Flair standing there in the middle of the ring, just kind of watching him go back and forth like this, as he basically just talked about whatever the hell came to his mind. And I watched that with a smile because Dave Bautista doesn't give two fucks about whether or not Vince McMahon says you're fired.
Drax.
Yeah, he doesn't give two fucks about it, and I thought that was awesome. And I was really interested in the fact that it looks pretty clear they're going to do the program that he wanted, which was Batista and Triple H. We're now mid-October. I think they're going to do the program going into WrestleMania, which is what he wanted. And I think he deserves it. And when you look at, they always want the big matches with the big names for Mania, and Hunter and Batista is still a big matchup. So I thought that was fun. I liked the whole thing. It was cool.
I think Randy Orton was really smart, too.
He was
throwing
good
in the makeup chair line.
Yes.
That was very smart of him, too. He's like, let me get in on this a little bit.
And I love when Batista, who was about to put Orton over, looked at him and he goes, I'm just going to ignore what you just said.
Yeah.
You know? And then he went into putting him over. So
yeah, and oftentimes, and it's something that Warren Hayes, our 205 Live Mae Young Classic NXT UK reviewer for FightfulSelect.com, said on last night's show, sometimes we'll criticize WWE production. When they get it right, they get it right. And Triple H said, you make sure you get my face on camera after that.
Which was great.
It was integral to have him look like that at Batista.
Yes.
And now I had no interest in seeing Randy Orton versus Batista. I do now. I want to see that. And the reason why I think this does lead to something else is because if it didn't, I think it would have been very, very easy to have Randy Orton heal all of them, and then they do a thumbs up, thumbs down, like to kind of call back from 14 years ago.
Right.
And there it's ending, everybody hugs, blah, blah, blah. But they didn't do that. I want to see Batista in one final run.
I do too.
Give me that. I want it. And, for all the people that complained about Evolution never being on SmackDown, I don't care.
I don't either.
I don't care. Dave Batista, Randy Orton, and Triple H were all three important at different times to SmackDown. Dave Batista carried SmackDown for a very long time, and that was his show.
Yep.
And I just want to see a guy who wants to be there be back like that.
I like the way that show was put together, because when you think about some of the all-time great names for SmackDown, Batista was one, Taker was one, he got the promo at the end of the show, Edge was one, and they did the Cutting Edge segment, Rey Mysterio was one, and he had the match with Shinsuke Nakamura. All the guys that were integral, and Eddie Guerrero, obviously, Eddie couldn't be there, but they showed some footage of him too. It was smart that they thought of all the guys that were integral to the building of that brand, and in some capacity, they were all part of it. So.
And Triple H was very, very important to the early days as well. Pre-brand split, so much of that McMahon-Helmsley era stuff unfolded on SmackDown.
Right.
When you go back and watch those shows, it was almost like their show that they were running.
Right.
Triple H in that dumbass leather cap he wore. You remember that thing?
Backwards, yeah,
that weird thing. But he was very important to that as well. Really, Ric Flair was the only one that didn't have a major role in the show. He only wrestled on SmackDown a couple times.
But he's Ric Flair.
But he's Ric Flair.
He can do whatever he wants. So what do you think about the fact, because on SmackDown, Rey Mysterio beat Shinsuke Nakamura, so now he's in the World Cup at Crown Jewel. What do you think about the fact that the World Cup, first of all, they're calling it the Best in the World tournament, right, to determine the best in the world, when none of the champions are in it? That's number one. And number two, everybody's American in this tournament. What do you think about that? No champions, and they're all Americans. Best in the world.
Excuse me, sir. They had 10 countries represented in that Battle Royal last week.
Fair. And I actually really loved that segment a lot.
Can't help that Americans are just better.
There we go.
Better. I'm sure that'll get over great in Saudi Arabia.
I'm sure. It's going to get over well in this Canadian office, too.
Uh-huh.
So, Austin Aries.
Yeah.
They're really going to try to pull a Brian Pillman? That's what they want to do?
Okay, so, God, man, there's so much to this. Somebody's getting worked.
I watched back the finish of the match for Bound for Glory. I watched it back 2 or 3 times because I had heard about how Austin Aries popped up after the finish. He kind of did pop up. It's not like he immediately jumped up as soon as he was pinned.
No, he got up before the champion, the person who just beat him with his finish in the middle of the ring, did, and walked out. Yeah.
He did. But it looked like a work to me, especially when they cut to Nitro, and Nitro's giving him a look, and it looked like a work. It didn't look like a shoot to me. And now, from what we're hearing, he's still with the company, and they're going to do a Brian Pillman. My biggest thing with this is, here's how I look at it, Sean. So obviously, Impact's numbers have not been good. I'm sure that management is probably scratching their heads because D'Amore and Callis, from what we've heard, have done a good job of changing morale in the company.
Creative, though. It's trash.
Well, okay, and that's part of it, but I think the other part of it, as we talked about, even before they brought in the new regime, Impact was a damaged brand. And turning that around was going to be very, very difficult. Now they've been hovering around 200,000 buys, or 200,000 views a week on Pop TV, even less than 200,000 views. And to make it worse, starting October 25th, they're going to be bumping the show back 2 hours to a 10 p.m. time slot, meaning the show's going to air from 10 p.m. to midnight, which is not good.
No, that's very bad news.
Yeah. So I understand what they're doing. They're grasping at straws. They're probably a little bit desperate. They're looking for something that's going to stick. They're looking for something that's going to get them attention. Apparently, they even took a clip of Aries when he walked out, and they tried to sell it to TMZ. Is that true?
I've heard, my God, I've talked to people in and around the company all week, and I'm getting different stories every single day. So somebody's getting worked, and the thing is, having the job that I have, I got to make sure I'm not the person getting worked.
Right.
That's the issue. Somebody is going to end up very unhappy in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I looked at it, if it's a shoot, Austin Aries is an unprofessional asshole.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a work, then it's a stupid, dumb work to no-sell your new champion's offense and to try to work the boys backstage, and it's very WCW 2000.
I agree. You should not work the boys. I agree with that.
You shouldn't, and you shouldn't do that anyway.
Yeah.
You don't get too cute for your own show. You are pro wrestling. And I thought Carlos Toro put it, man, as good as anybody. Our lead boxing writer who covers Lucha Underground every week said, Impact is Lucha Underground Light, and Lucha Underground is already Lucha Underground Light compared to their first 2 seasons. So
does that make them extra light? Impact extra light?
Goddamn right it does. While I look and I'm just like, build your company around Tessa Blanchard. Hope that it works and build it around her. Austin Aries, no offense to him, but he's not going to be the difference in 200,000 and 300,000 viewers.
I agree.
He's not going to be the difference between 200,000 and 100,000. And that was just dumb. I get
agree.
putting Johnny Impact as your champion. He's on Survivor. It's a big show. Why not do it? Shut up, Melissa.
Is it still a big show?
It still gets 7-8 million
that
viewers.
Appreciate it, yes.
It still gets 7 to 8 million viewers a week?
I looked it up, yeah.
On the high
I
end,
can't
yes.
believe that show's still popular. I can't believe it.
It's miraculous, but it does. It still gets a lot of viewership, and
The same shit twice a year for like 20 years?
They've been
they're in like their
changing it up a
900.
little bit, but yeah, essentially the same.
I can't believe that's still popular. Then again, we're talking about Raw. That's been on the air since '93.
Yeah, really, we're going to talk about Survivor being dated.
Why are you getting defensive?
I love Survivor a lot, and I actually tried to get him to get me a shout out, and he didn't.
I did a little bit, but the thing is, Skype did an update that messed up my recorder, so it didn't get any of my audio, so I had to chop it up into clips. But I did name drop you, actually, Melissa.
Why, are you a fan of Johnny Nitro, Impact, whatever the hell he calls himself now?
Survivors.
She's
and
met
I'm
the man.
watching season right now, so.
Oh, she met him at the Toronto show? You met him at
I
the
saw
Toronto show?
him. I didn't talk to him.
Oh, you saw
but-
him?
Yeah.
That's good. Let's go to Stupid People.
This is a stupid song, it just goes on and on. You might find some meaning, but you would be wrong.
All right, thanks again to trevorstrong.org for the usage of the stupid song. It's funny, she's talking about how she was a fan of Johnny Nitro or almost talked to him. I've actually been talking to Zack Ryder over the last week.
Really? LJN
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
Figured.
Yeah, we've been talking a fair bit because there's a figure I'm interested in and I want to know how legitimate it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I trust his judgments. We've been talking a lot because I want to know, is it real? Is it a custom? And he knows his shit. Like,
Yeah.
Zack Ryder knows his shit. So for some reason, that just popped in my head for no...
You remember I pitched a wrestling figure podcast a while back. I was going to do a rotating thing where one week it was title belts with Dan, one week it was figures, one week it was video games, and then something else. But then when Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins started up their wrestling figure podcast, and I was like, what's the point?
Right.
What's the point
He
now?
really knows his shit, man.
Yeah.
He does. And so he's one of the few guys, if he tells me something, I'm probably going to believe him. And so that's why he's one of the first guys that I turned to when I saw this thing. All right, this first one, this was reported by the Springfield News Leader on October 7, and I should mention once again, go to FightfulSelect.com after this. I got 3 more for you for Super People Extended, so don't forget that. This first one, they're always good, Sean. They're always real, and these are always real people because I do my due diligence, and it's amazing. So there's a 33-year-old man, his name is Dustin Burns, and he pleaded guilty earlier this year to violating a restraining order. And so he was placed on probation, okay? So he got to be at home. Now he's in jail facing a felony charge. Any idea what he did between being on probation that now has him facing a felony charge? Here's what he did. He posted a video on Facebook showing how to remove an ankle monitor with a butter knife and a screwdriver.
Got those hits, though.
Put up the clip, Melissa.
This is how you take an ankle bracelet off without breaking the circuit.
Who would think that's a good idea? Try to explain to me how that's a good idea.
Does that set off the ankle monitor?
No, because he did it in such a way, because he just dealt with the hardware.
Yeah, like the casing.
Like the casing of it, and so he knew to do it in such a way that it didn't set it up. Who thinks that's a good idea? Try to make me understand how somebody would think that's a good idea.
He didn't even put it on a monetized platform. He might have gotten a couple of bucks in.
And he put it on the Facebook account of Dustin Burns. Like he put it on his own damn Facebook account.
As I'm looking, like 2,000-3,000 views on YouTube.
But it's not monetized in any way.
No, it's not.
It's
not.
How is that a good idea? I don't get it, man.
It's not. I mean, clever to get it off, sure.
I guess. Clearly he had been trying different methods because he figured out the butter knife worked.
Yeah.
You know? So he's charged with tampering with electronic monitoring equipment, and that's a felony. And so he's in jail awaiting sentencing.
Yeah, as he should be.
That would have been very valuable for him to keep as a secret.
Yeah.
Not so valuable.
Because he could have kept the thing at home, gone and done whatever the hell he wanted. You know what I'm saying?
He could have charged people individually, like, hey, $50, I'll get this off you.
Maybe he was trying to be nice.
He could have charged 1,000, to get that off. Yeah. Anyway, this next one. So do you remember, Sean, when I told you the story about the guy that wanted to make a sword?
Yes, I
did. And he ended up lighting up like 4 city blocks.
Yeah.
Remember that? So this reminds me of the same guy. What do you think about people that reenact wars and famous battles? You know those people, and they dress up in the gear and everything?
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
It depends. I think some of them like to maybe imagine that they're changing the result.
Do you think that's why they do it?
I think there's some Civil War reenactors around here that wish things would have went the other way.
I see. Well, there's a 53-year-old man. His name is Peter Barclay. He's from Virginia. And he was participating in medieval night reenactment games. All right? Out of Williamstown, Kentucky. He used the name Master Terraphan Grey Dragon. So that was his medieval night name, Master Terraphan Grey Dragon. And he had a metal-tipped lance, all right, as part of his medieval night reenactment. There was a paper plate on the ground, and he saw that paper plate, and he had that metal-tipped lance in his hand. How do you think that ended?
Poorly.
So he threw the lance at the paper plate on the ground.
Threw it?
Yeah. He was standing nearby. He threw the lance at the paper plate on the ground. The lance hit the ground, flipped back up, impaled him in the chest, and he died.
Ah.
I thought he was just going to cut his dick off like everyone else on this show. Oh, no.
Not that guy.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
It's a bummer. It is. And I thought of like the sword guy, and then I thought, remember the girl that didn't want to take her diabetes medication because she doesn't like needles, even though she was covered in tattoos. So this was kind of one of those stupid yet sad stories, and I decided I'm saying it because it is dumb, even though it's sad too.
Yeah, I hate to hear anybody lose their life.
Yes. Yeah. This last one, this is for the SRS file. And it's reported by the Daily Mail on October 10th. So we know what you think of San Antonio. Okay? You've been very open about it. We know what you think of San Antonio. There's another city with a similar name that just got a distinct award. They won a distinct award. What name is similar to San Antonio that might have won a distinct award? Any idea?
Well, it should be San Antonio. Because, man, that city sucks.
Could have done better. So according to Realty Hop is, I don't know, some kind of a website that does analytics and real estate and shit. San Francisco, California is the street shit capital of America. In 2017, and I've been to San Francisco a few times, and I'll tell you a story in a minute about San Francisco, but I like San Francisco. I thought it was I thought it was a nice town, and I've done the Fisherman's Wharf, and it's really nice, and they got, you know, good seafood down there, and you can take the streetcar uphill and all that. I think San Francisco is cool. But according to Realty Hop, in 2017, there were 21,000 complaints related to human and dog shit sightings on the street. And when you average that averaged out to 456 shit sightings per square mile in San Francisco. That's a lot of shit sightings, man.
Yeah, everything's so expensive there. You can't even afford plumbing. You just got to drop one on the street.
Apparently.
Toronto's heading that way then.
Well,
it's pretty expensive.
San Francisco came up with an idea, so maybe Toronto will take this idea if they need to. So
I get the feeling Toronto will scoop in. They'll come up with something before San Francisco has a good idea.
Well, this past August, the city launched a poop patrol.
Are these city employees? Please tell me they are.
Yes.
Yes.
And so now the poop patrol, their job is to clean up the streets before a complaint is filed. Because obviously when somebody files a complaint, then you got to use city resources to follow up on it. So they want the poop patrol to clean up the streets before complaints are filed. And that's what they're hoping to do.
Do you think they'll take off like that Paw Patrol show?
I was going to say, my daughter's a big fan of Paw Patrol.
I was going to ask.
I don't know if I want her watching a poop patrol cartoon necessarily, but...
Don't let her watch this show then.
Don't let her in San Francisco.
She's not allowed to watch this show. So.
Yeah.
No. I'll tell you a San Francisco story. I've been there several times. The very first time I was there, I was at a sports bar, and I was with a client, and the client happened to glance out our window like this, and he looks at me and he goes, take a look, and I took a look. Right in front of our window, Sean, right in front of our window, a woman decided to pull the crack pipe, light it up, and start smoking it.
Damn!
Yeah. And because I'm a good small-town Canadian boy, I did the only thing that you could really do in that situation. I took out my phone
asked
and...
for hit.
Weed was legalized.
That's a better ending. That's a better ending. No, I was going to say I took out my phone and I recorded her doing it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Why do we not have this footage?
Yeah.
I have it if I look for it. I got it.
That would be great.
Yeah, it's on here. And she was oblivious. She had no idea we were all doing it. So let's move on because I want to talk to you again about Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, because just like the Saudi Arabia story, there are layers to this thing with Cody and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. There are layers to it. So we talked before about how their contracts are up at the end of the year. WWE is trying to scoop up all the talent they can. Ring of Honor and New Japan have the joint show coming up at MSG in the spring. WWE would love to grab these guys and keep those guys off that major show. Cody and the Bucks just did All In, which was a success. They sell a ton of merchandise through Pro Wrestling Tees. So there's the question, do you want to give up your freedom for possibly a really big guaranteed payday? And when I say freedom, I mean creative and otherwise, right? Do you want to do it? And it's kind of been weird. Some things have come out that might be shifting things potentially in that direction, which is why I want to talk to you about it. So the first thing is Dave Meltzer reported that morale in New Japan isn't as high as it was because the new executives there, the new regime is non-wrestling people. And apparently the guy that's the head of talent relations now kind of talks down to the talent, or at least they feel like they're being talked down to. And so now some talent in New Japan that previously would have never considered WWE are now considering WWE. The president of New Japan, Harold Meij, he actually posted an article on the New Japan site refuting Meltzer's report, and he called it disgusting. But really, if you're him, what else are you going to say, right? Yeah. You have to refute the report, but that's what he did.
Too.
That was going to be the next thing I was going to say. So Tama Tonga has been posting images of his latest Bullet Club shirt because Cody and the Bucks and Omega have said publicly that after this year they will no longer promote Bullet Club merchandise because they want to promote their own stuff instead. That led to Tama Tonga posting images of his latest Bullet Club shirt saying it's not going to be the last Bullet Club shirt I have. And he keeps on saying things like good luck in WWE and well wishes in WWE to Hangman Page and to the Bucks and to Cody and all those guys. Then on top of that, Hangman Page acknowledged through a Being the Elite episode that he was made an offer by WWE. Kenny Omega's teasing it on Being the Elite. He was shown getting a package from H and teasing that he's got an offer from WWE. So things seem to be shifting, or at least they're teasing it. My gut tells me that Cody and the Bucks are still going to stay on their own. Yeah. Because they're still young enough. I think they want to do another All-In show. I think their merchandise sales are pretty strong. But my gut tells me that Omega's going to consider it because he's now in his mid-30s. This is time for him to cash in. And I think that Triple H would put down some pretty hefty dollars in order to get him. So my gut tells me Omega's going to consider it, but Cody and the Bucks are going to stay firm. What do you think?
Well, it was a report that I had in the summer where a WWE wrestler told me WWE wanted to get all Game Changers under contract. Everybody they perceived. They signed up Rey Mysterio. They signed up Matt Riddle, who they had no interest in until Ring of Honor and New Japan said, we're running MSG. That made WWE take notice. I think realistically for what WWE would offer them, not what they could, but what they would offer them, Young Bucks and Cody make more money outside by promoting All In, selling their own merch, doing big deals with Ring of Honor and New Japan. They will, without a doubt, get the biggest deals in Ring of Honor history if they re-sign, undoubtedly. Tama Tonga, he wears his heart on his sleeve, but you never know how much of this is him working, too.
Could be.
But there have been several people. He, Hanare, Bad Luck Fale, all turned down WWE in the past themselves. Marty Scurll is in this conversation because his deal is actually up months later, which is kind of interesting. Adam Page is the kind of guy they would love to have to mold into one of their guys.
He reminds me a lot of Adam Cole. A lot.
Yes. Yeah. And I think
that could be good or bad for him.
Ultimately, I think they all stick together, and I think they all stay Ring of Honor, New Japan. I think Kenny Omega stays as well. For now, there is some unhappiness. I'm not going to pretend I have a wealth of New Japan sources, but I know that there were some people unhappy that George Carroll was out of New Japan, to the point to where nobody talked about George Carroll being out, but I know he was a guy that worked a lot with the foreign talent. Kenny Omega has spoken about how affectionate he is of the foreign talent, and this is a guy who embraced Japanese culture, learned the language, moved there, lived there, made his career there, and he speaks of how important that foreign talent is to New Japan. And when you have a guy like George Carroll who is in control of them, or helps them out for so long, and boom, he's gone from the company, that's not going to sit well. I don't know if it's enough to get people to sign or not sign, but yeah, they're contrary to what Harold is saying and contrary to what some of the wrestlers are putting out there, you can't uniformly say, oh, everybody's unhappy, or because that's never the case. That's why a lot of times I'll try to take the temperature of a situation among WWE wrestlers. It's never going to be unanimous, but you can see what the majority feel in that situation.
Right. We'll see what happens. I mean, again, if I was Triple H, since Triple H is now essentially the talent guy, I'd be going pretty heavy after Omega. I still think, with all due respect to Cody Rhodes has done tremendous things outside of WWE, but I still think that Cody Rhodes was kind of benefited from the whole Bullet Club inclusion. And I think that if you have him in WWE outside of that, I think it'll be harder for him to get over to the same level because there's so many other talents that are probably as good or better than him, especially in the ring. Omega, there's so much potential for Kenny Omega in WWE, and if I was Triple H, I'd be throwing the money at him.
He can't cut those normal WWE promos, though.
No, you're right. They'd have to, and again, we're waiting for the day that they have the cuffs off on that, because I think Hunter will get rid of the word-for-word scripts. But Omega, can you imagine some of the matches that Omega could have if they give him 20 minutes, Sean? Like, could be stellar. So we'll see what happens. Now, speaking of New Japan, I want to know your thoughts on this one. Don Callis is out as color broadcaster, and they are currently considering as a replacement Leaping Lanny Poffo.
Okay, so
I thought this was an April Fool's joke, but it's October, Sean.
Yeah, good for Lanny, first off.
Good for Lanny.
I don't know how familiar he is with the talent. Don Callis was very familiar with the talent. However, there are times when Don Callis, I think, jumps a little when you talk about star ratings in the middle of a match, that eliminates the perception. I'm not big. I like Chris Charlton's work outside of commentary. I don't know if he's a good fit for that commentary booth all the time. Rocky Romero, I think, is a good fit. Kevin Kelly, they better hold on to him with everything they got. He's great. But Don Callis is doing his Impact Wrestling thing. And honestly, if I surveyed the land and I was Don Callis, I'd be like, yeah, I'd rather hitch my wagon in New Japan than Impact Wrestling. But then again, you never know how much money he's getting from each one.
That's just it.
It just doesn't work like that. I mean, if his bread is being buttered in Impact, well, then they need to work on the creative there. But
he could be making in a year with Impact when he makes in 5 years in New Japan.
Exactly. And
so I don't blame him for that. But let me tell you, so I have talked to Leaping Lanny Poffo in the past. I once had a 3 or 4 hour conversation with him. And he's a good guy. He is. Like, we shot the shit and talked about different stuff. And he's a good guy. But do I see Leaping Lanny Poffo doing color commentary for New Japan Pro Wrestling? I don't even know how he would be on their radar. Like, how do you even think that that's the guy that you want to do color commentary?
It's, at least with Chris Charlton, he was a guy that a lot of people knew because he translates a lot of the stuff and he's familiar with the language. Our buddies at Pro Wrestling Unlimited, who covered the Fightful Wrestling Weekly on their channel, just said, Poffo said on his podcast he's never watched New Japan. Boom, that's a disqualifier for me.
How does he get on the
out.
radar? I wonder if he's quietly like Harold Mija's favorite pro wrestler, the Genius.
Because, I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. And, hey, I appreciate Poffo and their podcast sending us the news and stuff because they did.
Yeah.
They sent us the news and the quotes and all that stuff. And if you all run a podcast and you interview any big names, send us quotes. We'll run them. That's the way to get your podcast put over. But if you haven't watched New Japan, you've never done commentary.
Yeah. And
you're not familiar with anything. What the hell?
His personality, too, he's kind of like a monotone, kind of serious guy. I realize that he can turn it on when the camera's on. But even the Genius, if you try to think when he showed personality as the Genius, I don't see the Genius doing color commentary either. And I think they tried back in the day, every now and then.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's a head scratcher. I could probably think of another 20 guys that would do a better job than Lanny Poffo would. But
oh yeah,
he's probably cheap. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
But I mean, like, is anybody gonna tune into that show to see Lanny Poffo?
Nobody.
I mean, Jimmy, I don't want to bury anybody, but we tried a lot of different podcasts on this network, and we quite frankly found out there were people, no matter what they had accomplished, people will just not tune in to watch them talk about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
I love the fact that before I decided to do this the first time, you were a little bit nervous, thinking, "Oh man, what if this guy sucks on camera?" Because you would never see me do anything before. You thought I was an idiot with marbles in my mouth or something.
I mean, who knew? Who knew? And regularly, no offense to some of the UFC fighters and wrestlers that we've had on our show, regularly outdrew anything on our worst week. We do better than a lot of those did on their best weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you don't have to have a person who has been there. You need somebody that works and that makes your show better.
Right.
And name value doesn't always make the show better, especially a guy like that. That's a confusing one. As we found out, sometimes Jim Ross doesn't make the show better.
Yeah.
Sometimes he compromises the integrity of it. Sometimes he can add to it.
I agree. Now, speaking of making the show better, it looks like it's official now that Nikki Bella is going to headline Evolution against Ronda Rousey for the women's title, or at least for the Raw women's title. Are you ready to see Ronda Rousey sell the offense of Nikki Bella at Evolution in a couple weeks?
Well, I like Nikki Bella. I like her in ring. I love the forearm she does. I think it's great. I think she can wrestle. Am I ready to see anybody really beat up Ronda Rousey and me believe it? No, but there are ways to get around it. I think Ruby Riott did a great job because she utilized tactics that weren't legal in MMA, and they brought that up on commentary. But
it was still deadpan by the crowd, though, because they don't want to see Ronda sell for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and there was a former WWE writer, Tom Casiello, who was there for a long time. He worked a lot with the women there. And he criticized how lazy that promo was, how the writing. who writes these lines for Rousey?
Oh, you mean about like eviscerated like smallpox?
Face and a dangerous body. And you will be eviscerated like smallpox.
Yeah, that was weird.
What?
Yeah, that was weird. But I will say this though, Sean. I will say this: the crowd was pretty subdued compared to how they normally are. Yeah. Right? They were in Philly on Monday night. They're more subdued than the Philly crowd typically is. And when Ronda Rousey said, "I've knocked in all these doors in Strikeforce and the UFC, and the only door you knocked down was the door to John Cena's bedroom," that got the biggest pop of anything on the entire show.
Yeah, and I mean, anything. That's honestly, as much as I hated that line because of, they were so bad about that. Like having Rousey come out and say, "The Divas made me sick." That's not an endearing line. But the bedroom line is, quite frankly, closer to how Ronda Rousey talks. She calls people do-nothing bitches, says that people have gritty kitties. I don't know. But basically accuses people of having dirty vaginas. So there you go.
You know what? It was more what Ronda Rousey should be. They shouldn't use her in TV matches. They should keep her for special occasions. If they wanted to do promos, fine. If they wanted to beat up security guards, fine. But otherwise, I wouldn't have her in the ring on TV. She should be a Brock Lesnar, the female Brock Lesnar. That's who she should be. So.
Well, I know one thing. Jazz isn't a DNB, but hopefully we don't have to see China's picture.
Is China going to be here again? Maybe we're going to have Ivory this time. Is Ivory going to show up on screen?
I'm excited.
Melissa,
hit the clip. So speaking of business, Dave Lagana and Billy Corgan took over the NWA probably, I don't want to say a few months, but it was several months after you had won the NWA Women's Championship. What were your feelings, or did you even think about it at that point?
Well, at the time, I was just wondering what's going to happen now, because it happened overnight, and me knowing Lagana for so many years, and he just told me, just be patient, Jazz, don't worry, we're working on things are going to, take place, going to pick up, just be patient, and that's what I did. I was just patient, and all it did was just gave me time to prepare myself for matches, because I had taken 5-6 years off from doing anything pertaining to wrestling, so physically, mentally, my mind wasn't there, but now I'm back into, Jazz mode. So, first I was just being mommy, going to work, house life, that's why I was mentally. But now I'm back to, I'm ready to kick some ass and show the people. I'm a 46-year-old grown-ass woman, so that alone lets you know I have the experience. Been there, done that. I've been on the biggest platform. So I've been in front of millions and hundreds and thousands of people before. So there's nothing that night that's going to have me intimidated. Nothing.
So as you see, I'm not sure how much you had seen at that point, but a lot of people were getting stripped of their championships. You and Tim Storm were the only ones that weren't. When you heard about that, had you already been told ahead of then, hey, we're going to keep the title on you, but we're stripping everybody else?
No, I mean, I wasn't told. They told me they were going to keep it on me because they, wanted to do. They had an idea of what they wanted to do, but they didn't tell me they were stripping, belts from everybody. No, I had no clue of that. No, I didn't even ask questions about it. So that's the political side of it. I try not to get involved in that. That's their business. I don't, that's my the side of the fence that I ride on. So.
Jazz defends her championship against Penelope Ford Sunday. We will have a live post show. As of now, it's me. But yeah, check it out. Also on FightfulSelect.com, if you subscribe, I cover NWA 10 Pounds of Gold every Friday. I also will preview NWA 70. That is just $5 a month for that low tier. Just head over to FightfulSelect.com. I guarantee you we have something that you like. That is the best way to support us. But I'd like to thank our buddies Vape Ross Vape and OMG for donating to the Super Chat. As well, Melissa, as the infamous Jason, whose actual name is Simon. Follow him at
Jason. What are you talking about?
Follow him at SI1927 on Twitter.
So one of the surprise appearances on SmackDown this week, on SmackDown 1000, was by Mr. Shane McMahon. And Shane McMahon made the news in another way this
And
week.
his hot sister.
You're giving it away, damn it! I'm not even at the clip yet, Sean. Giving it away. He was on Opie Radio on Westwood One. Here's a clip of one story in particular that they talked about. Melissa's got it. Go ahead.
We were talking to Bruce Pritchard and Conrad, and I got to ask you about this because when he was writing for the WWE, he swore that they were trying to work a story. Who was working the storyline? Vince, right? It was Vince's idea, your dad, where he wanted an incest angle with you and Stephanie. And I think, was it Bruce that stepped in and was like, yo, we just can't do this. Do you have any memory of this? He told this story and we were laughing so hard.
Well, my sister's hot. I don't know if I really would have minded that.
You got a new fan here, Shane. I'm going on Amazon. I'm buying a Shane poster. Who's my favorite wrestler? Shane, period.
My God.
I know he was being sarcastic, all right?
He is reacting like any normal red-blooded American with the last name McMahon would.
Yeah, because that was quite the belly laugh. That was quite the Vince McMahon belly laugh at the end of that. I read some of the criticism and some of the troll comments, and people were like saying, oh, what a disgusting pig and all that. He was being sarcastic. He wasn't being serious. And if you think otherwise, you're an idiot. But I got to tell you, sarcasm or not, you're not going to hear me on a podcast refer to my sister as hot.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? Especially when they're discussing an incest angle. Sometimes you need to know when to draw the line on that sarcasm.
Hey, babe, Jimmy.
Yeah, right.
He's leaving that door open. You never know what kind of creative storyline will come your way.
Now, we might as well keep it going with the fun stuff here. So, the Iron Sheik. So, he's a former WWE champion. He's an amateur wrestling legend, former Olympian. I think he was even a coach on the U.S. Olympic team for amateur wrestling. He's a lover of certain recreational things, Sean. And in recent years, he's been a bit of a lunatic.
Did he smoke crack with that girl in San Francisco?
He was the girl in San Francisco.
Bit of a lunatic, and now apparently he wants to be a peacekeeper. Put up that tweet, Melissa. Now, this is regarding a little thing that happened. Shaggy 2 Dope tried to throw a drop kick at, what's his name, Sean? Fred Durst, and he missed by a mile on the drop kick, and a video went viral of it. So this is the Sheik's response. The Shaggy 2 Dope, you are a good man, but your drop kick is fucking drizzling shits. Even worse than the Brian Blair. And now I don't know who this DJ Lethal is, but he says also DJ Lethal is my brother. I don't like to see my brothers fight, Bubba. So the Iron Sheik wants to be a peacekeeper to make sure that Shaggy 2 Dope doesn't try another drop kick from behind on Fred Durst, Sean.
So DJ Lethal is the DJ for Limp Bizkit. Also, he was the DJ for House of Pain. You remember them?
Yeah, vaguely, yeah.
Jump Around,
Of course,
Everlast.
okay.
Everlast DJ. Yeah, it's kind of funny because, Jimmy, this is a match that you think we could have gotten in an old video game of SmackDown. Fred Durst was a character on the SmackDown game back in the day.
I think I could book that match now if I wanted.
You probably could.
Yeah, if I wanted Shaggy 2 Dope against Fred Durst, I could get that done.
One of the Q&A shows for the podcast this week was like, how would we book a Fightful Wrestling show? Well, that's on there. Fred Durst versus Shaggy 2 Dope.
Yes.
That's on there now.
And wouldn't he be the biggest payday of the night, probably?
No, for sure not.
So NXT, they had their TV tapings this past week. It's going to air on the network, and I think they're still working on a TV deal in the UK on top of it. And there had been...
It's airing right now, or it just aired.
Not on TV, though, just on the network.
Yes.
Yeah. There were rumors before the tapings. The rumors were confirmed. They unveiled new NXT UK tag team titles. Melissa, let's put up that photo. I think these actually look pretty nice, these tag team title belts.
They do.
Look at that, man. I think those look good.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, it reminds me almost of the WCW belt from the mid-'90s. I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, a little prettier, and I love how intricate they get with these championships. And talking to Dan last week, man, that was fascinating stuff, hearing about like belts that end up here and there and what goes into them. But I think those are beautiful championships.
They look really good. Now, the only issue, as we've talked about, is how many belts they have over 4 brands now.
Yeah.
And I know you tell me. It looks like they're easing up on the women's tag thing because they're not doing as many women's tag matches over the last couple of weeks. And one of the teams we thought was going to be a team, which is Nia Jax and Ember Moon, now they're doing a little kibosh on that because of the Battle Royal at Evolution. So it looks like they might be putting on the brakes on the women's tag belts for now. But
it seems so. I mean, when all is said and done, after the NXT UK, they're going to have 20 champions, I think. And I don't even, maybe 20. Yeah, it's 20 champions overall. Not 20 championships, just so, actually, people don't come at me, but 20 people hold.
Oh, so that guy's not from the South? That guy's not from the South.
No. Actually guy isn't from the South.
Okay.
A actually guy in the South goes, "You dumb motherfucker." One of those.
Is the actually guy from, like, I don't know, upstate New York? Like, where the hell is he from?
I've told you about my neighbors. My neighbors can be a handful. They got into a fight. I found a tweet. It was on this day, and they got into a fight, like almost physically.
Are they the ones with the dog tied up in the backyard?
Yes, and they got in a fight with their other neighbor. And I had posted, "Wow, I've lived next to these people for years, and I didn't know their names were Big Boy and Lil Cunt." But that's what they called each other. So I guess
as they were fighting.
Well, it didn't come to blows.
Oh, it didn't come to blows. Oh, it was just like a verbal argument.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay. So Kevin Owens on Raw last week, they did what looked to be a double turn. It looked like a double turn, kind of reminiscent of Austin and Bret Hart, where Lashley healed on Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens sold like the babyface would, and they did the injury angle for the knee. And as it turns out now, that was legitimate, and he was essentially being written off television because today, October 17th, he underwent double knee surgery today. Double knee surgery, and they estimate that he's going to be out for up to 8 months. Here's my question for you, Sean.
Goldust underwent too, by the way.
Sorry?
What Goldust underwent as well, double knee surgery.
So here's my question for you. When Seth Rollins got injured, and he left as the heel, but he got injured, and everybody said, when you come back, you got to be the babyface because the crowd has missed you, and you're going to get the babyface reaction. And Seth Rollins goes out there and immediately shits on the crowd. Do you think Kevin Owens, whether he's back in 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is going to go out there, get the babyface reaction because he's going to, because they're going to miss him, and then shit all over the crowd like Rollins did?
Yes.
You think that's going to happen?
Yes, I do. Because I hate to be the guy that says, I have no confidence in this, I have no confidence in that, but yes, I do. And then I think WWE, I mean, look at Braun Strowman. Yeah. Braun Strowman, they would love to have a guy like that over. It's about one guy, and it's because it's what one guy wants. If the one guy that's supposedly benefiting from all this, Roman Reigns, had his way, I don't think things would go like this. I think he understands the hotter creative is, the hotter more people are, the hotter his programs are. But ultimately, they want people to get the reaction they want. What it comes down to.
And they want to protect everybody. That's part of the problem. But we don't need to go off. Well, we'll see what happens. It looks like he's going to miss Mania, which is unfortunate. But we'll see what happens. Last thing on my list this week, we've talked about Jericho. The guy's everywhere doing everything, and now he's got his cruise coming up, and Fight TV has actually signed a deal where they are going to air footage from the cruise on the Fight TV app on November 3rd, plus the Honor Club, Ring of Honor streaming service, is going to air a special based on footage from Jericho's cruise. So the guy found a couple of revenue streams out of that, man. Good for him, or good for whoever's in charge of it in case it's not him directly.
Is that Sea of Honor?
It's Sea of Honor.
Wasn't I supposed to go cover that, Jimmy?
That was never run by me. I don't recall that ever being.
It was your idea.
Oh, really?
When is that?
Let's just say I've heard a lot of stories about the Wrestle Vessel back in the day, and I'm trying to protect you, and that's all I got to say.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Don't need to say any more than that.
I don't want to go anymore. I'm good.
Yeah. It's something that we'll cover on the site.
There you go. You know people that are going? You know anybody going that's going to be able to cover it?
Shane. Shane Helms is going.
All right.
I know a lot of wrestlers that are going, yeah. Actually, I think I do know a few people that are going. I might be able to talk to somebody.
Okay, good. There you go. That's it for my list, bud.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, as I'm continuing to wear my nice new polo tee that you don't have.
This is bull. I don't feel.
Maybe if you send me a mug, I'll consider sneaking you one, Sean.
Yeah, considering I'm paying for the mugs, I don't have one either.
I'll send you all a couple mugs. Melissa was like, "Oh, bring them when you fly in." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna bring in like boxes like that big in my carry-on. That's what I'll do."
Put it in a
You know,
box.
you can always take it out of the box and just kind of wrap it in paper or something, Sean.
No. Yeah, TSA throwing around my bags and stuff. That'll.
Wrap it in a sweater.
It's a carry-on. They don't throw around the carry-ons.
Well, you still gotta put the things through there, and they aren't exactly gentle with those. Sometimes.
Okay, every vacation I take, we always bring back a mug because that's kind of like what my wife and I do, and we have never had one break ever.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'm running out of excuses here, so I'd
Yes,
like
you
you to
are.
not do that.
All you got to do is just say, I didn't feel like it. That's all you got to say. I didn't feel like it.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it, especially not for Melissa.
There you go.
But
Yeah, now you're definitely not getting a polo, my friend.
Very nice.
But I will send you all some mugs. How about that? They are beautiful mugs, and you can get them at special tiers on FightfulSelect.com, which also give you the ability to pick a retro podcast. They give you the ability, if you want to save them up, to appear on a show with us. Our boy John Baez did that, and we had a New Yorker's perspective on ECW One Night Stand 06. If you guys are on the fence about Fightful Select, I have a full playlist of content on YouTube that previews the service. We do all kinds of stuff over there, and I'm adding more and more MMA content. I really want that to grow. But a lot of websites, they kind of ignore the 205s, the NXTs, the NXT UKs, Mae Young Classic, Impact, Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, BTE, NWA. Across our 2 weekly podcasts, we cover all that. So if you all want a couple of shows that do that, it's a good place to start. Jimmy, what do you got going on this week?
Just doing my thing, trying to get caught up. Been out of town, so trying to get caught up. And I think I'm going back out of town on the weekend, potentially. Mm-hmm. So... yeah, I'm just trying to get caught up. This was the first day that I think I've ever put this list together in like a half an hour from start to finish.
Yeah?
Because I just didn't have time to do it. So, but I got it done for you, man, and I got the new polo tee on while I'm at it.
So, are we gonna have a show next week?
I believe we will.
Awesome.
I believe we will. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it, guys. Hit us with a thumbs up. Hit us with a subscribe. Hit that little bell. It'll tell you when we go live. This weekend, I do have a live NWA 70th anniversary post show. We had the Fightful MMA podcast. It's on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern now. I talked to Showdown Joe as well as MMA insider James Lynch. Melissa, we're getting closer. Episode 100.
I hope you're ready, Sean.
Ready for what, Melissa? You going to mute me again?
Yep. Maybe I will.
You don't even know wrestling moves.
I know things. Maybe.
What do you know? Are you gonna jump on one of those mushrooms and grow like Mario? Is that how it works?
Isn't that what Trump did when he was with Stormy Daniels?
Wow. Well,
Oh God.
that just went from promo to completely inappropriate.
FightfulSelect.com after this. Stupid People Extended. We got 3 more for you. Wrap it up, Sean.
Well, I was trying to end it with a promo, but we're out.